Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate broker and CEO Michelle Pais of Signature Realty based out of Springfield, New Jersey. Michelle is the CEO and founder of Signature Realty New Jersey. She has been selling real estate for the past 15 years and her company is going on its 6th year. She has sold well over 1,000 homes and she's recently been featured on the cover of Top Agent Magazine, International Edition, as New Jersey's top agent. The criteria for selection as a top agent includes rapid and proven success, reputation for outstanding service, and community and charity involvement. Also, just recently, she was awarded with the Platinum Circle of Excellence Award by NJAR, which is the North Jersey Association of Realtors, which is their highest and most prestigious award a realtor can receive. Such award represents the best of the best in the business. All right, with all that said, Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Keith, so much for having me. I'm honored and very excited to be here.
Michelle, if we could start for our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
It was totally by accident. I was 21, 22 years old, and I saw an ad in the newspaper classified section looking to hire a local real estate brokerage firm looking to hire a part-time secretary. So at the time I was going to school, unsure as to what career I wanted to pursue. I saw this ad, and as I was going to school, I decided to, take on a part-time job, and it just happened to be, again, for a local real estate brokerage firm. And from there, I just began to immerse myself in the business, and this was, unexpectedly something that I enjoyed and liked a lot. So that's really how it all started. So it was completely by accident, and about, I'd say, within a year after being the office secretary, I decided to get my real estate license. And my first year in sales, I believe I sold a little over 25 homes, and I enjoyed it very much so. And it's been, 15, 16 years now. So that's really how it all started.
Yeah, it definitely seems like, real estate, even though it's such a rewarding career, as you know, as well as lucrative, it doesn't seem to be, that standard staple where if you ask a kid, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're, I want to be a police officer or a fireman. Nobody seems to say, I want to be a real estate agent. It doesn't have that connotation to it,
Yeah, it's funny because you're absolutely right. No one wakes up and says one day, I want to be a salesperson. That's not definitely not on their mind.
So can you talk a little bit about what personal attributes, traits, or qualities you think have most contributed to the success that you've had in real estate?
Yeah, so marketing has, for example, has been probably the single most important factor that I would say helped me and my career. And I'll give you an example of a pretty silly but funny story, and then actually it worked. When I started to developing my marketing campaign, early on, I had developed a corny little slogan: when it's time to sell, call Michelle. So I used to put that on all my marketing pieces, my direct mail pieces, and I would send them out. And there were so many times now that people were calling me and inviting me into their homes to potentially list their house. And there were, I can't tell you how many times I'd walk in and there would be little kids singing this jingle, when it's time to sell, call Michelle. And it was the cutest thing. And I laugh now, and just, it was as corny as it was, it worked. So, marketing and just coming up with, little things, little catchphrases and little jingles has helped. And so that has been, my, not what I want to say secret to success, but it really, it worked for me. So that marketing and direct mail campaign has helped.
Excellent. And Michelle, do you think you could give our listeners another example of when your traits have played a role in your path toward success?
Yes, I can. So another funny story, when I started the business, I didn't have any money. And one of the things that I did my first year in particular is I was door knocking. So I literally spent my days and weekends and evenings just knocking on doors. That's really the only thing that I had was my time and my effort. So that first year I was able to convince the sellers to list their home with me, and that played a part into those 25 homes that I sold. And so door knocking was something that was efficient for me, and I was able to get in front of the client and really just use my personality to get business. And this is something that most realtors do not do. I guess they're afraid of confrontation or putting themselves out there, but it's helped for me. And from this day, I still hustle. I'm still hustling. I'm still working just as hard, if not harder. I'm not necessarily door knocking anymore, but because I now have more money, I can afford to work smarter. So I would say, going back to your other question, one of the attributes is persistency and consistency. So I've really immersed myself in all things real estate. I've worked in it, and I've been working in it for about 7 days a week, 12-hour days. And I'm consistently coming up with creative, outside-of-the-box marketing strategies and branding ideas. So that's definitely a good example.
Excellent. And I think this day and age, too, it may be a little dangerous to do door knocking. I don't know. It seems like people they don't want people knocking at their door. They seem nervous. It seems like you might end up with a weapon on the other side of the door this day and age. You never know.
I agree. I totally agree. And this is, like I said, not something that I promote, but it was something that I used to do, and this is now going back 15 years ago. So.
Absolutely. And obviously with success that you've had, not everything was probably a smooth road. Obviously, even you said getting started, the money wasn't quite there, so you found other creative ways to do things. But can you talk a little bit about some of the other adversities or trials that you had to overcome in order to achieve your goals and have the success that you've had?
Well, because I started at such a young age, now real estate typically, most people that get into real estate, this is their second career for them. Like you had said previously, people don't really, wake up and say, I'm going to be a salesperson. So this tends to be the second career for most. Now, this was my first career. So I started at 21, 22, and the biggest challenge that I had was my age. And it was difficult to have a homeowner or convince a homeowner, I should say, in allowing me to represent them, because they automatically would look at me and just say, well, how old are you, and how are you going to help me? So the age was definitely a challenge. And the other challenge that I had was, just the realtors in general, my peers, my competitors. I guess, once I started working and getting myself out there, it definitely didn't go unrecognized. So I would constantly be challenged with a lot of, jealous realtors and trying to, it's a competitive business. And so a lot of backstabbing, that working with, the other realtors or working against them, I should say, in this sense, because it is a competitive business and you are going up against, other realtors and you are in a competitive situation. So that has been challenging. Now I still get that. By no means, this is something that I don't think will ever end. But I'll give you an example. I have bad days and I'm vulnerable at some times, and there was sometimes to motivate myself, especially when I'm feeling down, I watch motivational videos. And I specifically remember listening to Les Brown. He's a well-known motivational speaker, and I'll never forget this quote. He said, "The wealthiest place is in the graveyard." Now, because in the graveyard you find people's ideas and inventions and ambitions that they never acted upon. So people don't take your greatness to the graveyard. We have one life to live, and that's that's what I plan to do.
Yeah, and I think that's some great advice for our listeners that, like you said, everybody it could have a downtime or a negative situation or something to affect your attitude and your mood, and to for you to know that, okay, I'm not going to let this kind of keep me down. Is I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to watch a motivational video to kind of raise yourself back up. So I think that's great advice for anybody in any business, that if you do have that time that's trying, seek something out. Go to YouTube, type in Les Brown or motivational video, and you're going to find a lot of things that you can look at that'll quickly boost your mood and get you back in the right mindset so you can continue on.
Absolutely.
Can you talk, obviously, I think, too, that, with the, adversities and trials and running into things, some people will just give up. They're just like, I can't handle this. It's not for me. So what kept you going? You ran into these obstacles. You were young in the business. You continue to hit other kind of walls in your way. Why don't you give up? What's your driving force?
Well, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. And growing up in a household with both my parents working, I was always taught the meaning of hard work at a very young age. Through my parents, I developed a strong work ethic, but unlike my parents, I've also learned how to learn from other successful people by working smarter, leveraging technology, and utilizing my team. Now, success is different to different people. I know, to me, I've always wanted to be successful and just have the freedom of not having to count on anybody else, and I enjoyed my independence. So that that to me is what really just keeps me going, and I look at it that sky's the limit, and there's really nothing at this point that I'm intimidated by, I should say.
Excellent. And I guess, kind of looking forward, what is your vision for your business and your career, say, over the next 5 years?
Well, I want to expand into different marketplaces. Right now, I'm in New Jersey, and I want to focus more on the luxury market. I am looking to open up other branch offices, and ultimately my goal is to be on TV and hopefully have my own real estate reality TV show.
And I guess on top of that, what do you feel is the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so you can have continual growth?
Well, it's all about focus and consistency. So keeping up with the latest technology trend is very, very important. Also, I regularly engage with my audience through social media platform. I think that's huge. You had mentioned YouTube, or might have mentioned YouTube, but YouTube is a huge platform. The use of video, and I think that's very important and very especially in this industry. I think you need to brand yourself, and the use of video is key. And I also like to keep in constant contact with all my past and current clients. So, and stay in front of them at all times. Either it's direct mailing or billboards or Facebook ads or newsletters, networking events. That's you have to just do it all, really.
And I think when it comes to real estate, especially agents, there's sometimes a lot of misconceptions on, from a general public perception on how they look at agents. And maybe it's because of the barrier to entry. You take a little training, you pass the test, and then you're an agent, and you're essentially, you may not have any idea what you're doing at that point. And I think that lends itself to a lot of misconceptions in the marketplace. So what do you think the biggest misconception or myth that people have about working with a real estate agent is?
I don't think the problem is the consumer. I think the problem is our industry. As a realtor, we are representing the public with buying and selling their biggest asset, which makes up really for the majority of their net worth. And I think it should be made harder for a real estate person, or for a person in general, to get their real estate license. I know in most states, 75-hour requirement is what's needed. A test, you pass a test, and you get fingerprinted and you're licensed. But agents are taking on the role of representing the largest asset of someone's that someone has, and many of them are just not taking it seriously. So I am not surprised why the public has a negative view on realtors, because most of them out there don't take this profession seriously. So going back to your question, I think the biggest myth is that all realtors are created equal, which they are not.
And let's say you get a call from a family member or a friend, and they're in another state, and they want to sell their home. And they know you're in the business. So they call you and ask you for some advice. What advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs? Like you talk about taking care of your clients. What would you tell them to look for in selecting an agent?
So one very simple strategy is to call the local board of realtors and ask them for last year's Circle of Excellence winners, specifically the platinum winners. And in order to qualify as a platinum winner, you have to qualify for a certain amount of volume and transactions. So the chances of them being a full-time and qualified agent are very high. I would also interview a few realtors or brokers before deciding on one, and of course pick your favorite. And remember, one very, very important key is that the realtor offering the least amount in commission isn't always the best qualified. So, there's a saying, you get what you pay for, and that's, I think that's important, and that's something that people should realize, that, sometimes discounted commission isn't, it'll cost you more money in the end.
Yeah, sometimes I think, like you said, discounted commissions could be discounted value and discounted services. You like you said, you get what you pay for a lot of times.
Absolutely.
Now, if somebody's looking for real estate services, now what specific area of New Jersey do you cover?
I do a lot of Union, Essex, Somerset, and Morris counties. So in New Jersey. So that's my area. And you could always, if you want to get a hold of me, you can always Google my name, Michelle Pais, and last name's Pais. I know it's hard to sometimes type that in. Or you can just visit my website at Signature Realty NJ for New Jersey.com, and on there you'll have all my information.
Excellent. And that's what I was going to ask you next. How can somebody get in touch with you if they need your help? But you already got that covered for us. So obviously, Michelle, we want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and coming here today and sharing all of your real estate professional experience with our listeners. And if you want to learn more about Michelle, like you said, you can either Google her or you can go to her website. And below this interview, we're going to have links to her site and any other contact information we have so that you can go ahead and see if you guys would be a good fit to work together. So with all that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.